Without further ado, please help me welcome Dr. Mal. Hi, Dr. Mal.
Hey, happy
The
Wednesday.
little shimmy.
Yes. Okay, so side note, how did I miss? Because I told all my peoples, I was like, be on 11:30 CST, because that's the time zone I'm in. And then I was like, I was ready. And then I didn't realize that it was in PST. That's how I live my life, though. I really, in real life, I don't know what time it is most of the time. So
And you're on vacation now, too. So,
yes, I'm in South Padre Island, Texas. It's my first time here, and once I saw the email, like I told you, I saw the email that it switched to virtual. Within 2 hours, I had canceled all of my hotel flights, everything in Long Beach, and had a whole new destination. And
she said, say less.
was I'm out. It is 81 degrees down here. I've been on the beach, just living my best life.
I know
But
that's
I'm
right.
grateful for all of it. So
Well, yay. I'm super excited to have you here. You want to give people a quick overview, a good word of what we about to get into?
yeah, so today I'm talking about how to edit like a pro in Riverside. And I was listening. I mean, first of all, let's talk about the speakers before, because my Atlanta, what an incredible wealth of information. But I was finding so many connections in just what I do and what I'm even about to talk about. And so I'm talking about editing like a pro in Riverside because that is the platform that I use for my podcast. And so, yeah. And let me know, Riverside's not paying me to talk about them.
Yes.
I'm just talking about them because that's something that is available to all Alive Podcast Network.
Creatives.
Yeah, creatives. They are able to take Riverside at a discounted price and use it to edit their podcast if they're not using it already. So
All right. Well, awesome. Well, we got people all over the world ready and waiting to dive into how to edit like a pro. So I'm going to remove myself and let you take it.
yes. Okay, like I said, today we are talking about how to edit like a pro with Riverside. And before I got started with this workshop, I wanted to start off with a quote to ground the message that I'm delivering today, because it reminds us that even in the age of automation and AI, our creativity still leads the way. And so that quote is, AI is the intern, you're the editor in chief. And Kyle just talked about that in his speech when he was saying that AI is truly a tool. It can assist us, it can polish our sound, it can even save us hours of editing time, but it cannot replace our awareness. Therefore, it is an intern. It follows instructions well, it executes, it helps, but you are the editor in chief. You decide the direction, you decide the tone, and you decide the truth of what your audience hears. That's what this workshop is really about today, learning how to collaborate with technology without losing the soul of your message. But before we dive deeply in, I want to share a little bit about me. I in my enlightenment in my walk right now, I normally don't lead with what I do, because I feel like the deeper part of a person is really who they are. I want to show up and I want people to know who I am before they know what I do. But for the sake of this worldwide platform that I'm on, I'm Dr. Mallory D. McCoy, but my friends call me Dr. Mal. And if you're watching now, we're now friends. So call me Dr. Mal. Professionally, I identify as a lifelong educator, lifelong student, because you can't have one without the other, creator, sound healer, and astro soul coach, which I'll get into for a second. Those last two modalities actually allow me to align with my life purpose, which is to use my life experience to help guide others. In saying that, although I have an EDD in educational leadership, I have a PhD in spiritual warfare and alchemy. Well, we can talk about that later. You can just listen to the 77 podcast I've already released. My background is in choral music and teaching music tech. helped me start my mission to amplify my voice and the voice of others. And so where I used to use my singing voice as my primary instrument and conducting talents to bring people together to create healing spaces of choral music, I now use sound bowls, drums, chimes, rain sticks, and a drone flute to help create soundscapes in my Sacred Sound Sunday sessions and a podcast. A Monday Moment with Dr. Mal is my show, and I would love for you to catch the audio on the Alive Podcast Network, or you can catch the visual on YouTube. My favorite obsession right now is learning astrology and astrocartography and how to utilize it to help myself and others live in the rhythm of their purpose. It's absolutely changed my life. So, as an astro soul coach, I love helping others change their lives using astrology and astrocartography, which is locational astrology. I'm grateful for both of those alignments because they align with my life purpose, as I said before. And so through my podcasting, my creativity, my strategy, and my spirit coexist. I just want to take a second, though, to shout out Angel, because this is how spirit works. When you are supposed to be ordained to do something, it will align to where you can actually do it. I was quitting my podcast journey, and for my 40th birthday in true Leo fashion, I decided that I'm going to commemorate the 26 episodes I had published up until that point by posting 40 of my favorite clips before my 40th birthday. And so, in that process, as these clips are coming out, Angel caught wind of my clips on LinkedIn, and she reached out to me and said that you would be an asset to my podcast platform. Would you want to join? I absolutely was floored by that, but completely honored. And let me tell you what I love most about being on the Live Podcast Network. I love most that I can show up as myself and I can show up in my authenticity, because that is the bedrock of my platform, of my brand. When Mallory lives, I will not show up in any space where I can't be 100% myself. And on the Alive Podcast Network, I can 110 million% be myself. So Angel, I'm grateful for you believing in me and seeing me and saying, hey girl, come on over. So I just wanted to say that and get that out the way. So now you may be wondering who this workshop is designed for. Well, if you're producing your own podcast, pick me. Recording, editing, publishing, doing all the things, this is going to give you the tools to make your workflow smoother and your sound more professional. But if you have a producer, this still is for you. Understanding the editing process helps you give clear direction. You can collaborate better, and you can keep creative control of your show's energy and message. And so I know I can't see you, but wave your hands in the air like you just don't care if you are the ones that are the independent podcasters, because we out here, baby. We do it all. And then for those of my friends and people who have their own producers doing their show, you can wave your hands in the air like you just don't care too. You still matter, but it's a lot when you have to take on all the facets, all the parts of producing a podcast. Some of you are doing it just on an audio side, and some of us, pick me, are choosing to do both the audio and video, which that adds a whole nother dynamic to the editing and the sound and all of that. So before coming to Riverside, I have used several platforms, but my focus today is primarily on Riverside because that's the platform we're using. But these skills can translate to any editing tool that you use, because at the end of the day, good storytelling, good sound, and good editing follow the same rhythm. So let's get to it. Why does editing matter? Muy importante. Editing is the heartbeat of your podcast. It's where your intention meets execution, because your voice becomes legacy. As soon as you put something out on the internet, is there, and Cardi B's voice, forever. So if you put it out, you want to make sure that the story that you actually want to put out is the one that's being put out. Therefore, make sure all your edits are exquisite for clarity, consistency, and creative purposes. One of the things that I learned in my 16 years of teaching in public schools is that clear is kind always. It's important to be clear. And regarding consistency, that trust point is key. So, as a grammar nerd, I low key am critical for those of my friends who may struggle with their grammar, and especially in professional content. It's important for you to make sure that your grammatical content is without error. For me personally, I've been known to move past people's businesses and not patronize their business if they have misspelled words on their website. And that's real talk. So I know how critical I am. And so I equally believe it's important for us to have that content on point. And then, of course, for creativity's sake, proper edits do help your story come alive. And it's not just the verbal things that help your story come alive, it's also the nonverbal things and the gestures. If you're watching, you notice I am a gesticulator. That's a person that talks with their hands a lot. So, all of that is important to communicating the story that you want to tell. And then, of course, I added another quote because I love quotes. And this is one that a friend gave me not too long ago. It accentuates and tells my story and makes my point. Pun certainly intended. It says, never tell a story without making a point, and never make a point without telling a story. And Ed knew what he was talking about when he said this quote, because podcasting, this art form that we're using to tell our story, the bedrock of it is purpose. I heard Ebony earlier talk about purpose and aligning with our purpose. And so every anecdote should teach, it should touch, or transform others. Yes, tell a story and make a point. But if your edits are not on point, your listeners will miss the point and the story. Now, I don't have to tell you this, but as previously mentioned several times over, AI is incredibly helpful, but it is not 100%. Nothing is 100%, including us. But to rely on a bot to edit the message you're communicating to your audience takes away from the authenticity of you telling your story. AI can miss nuance, a laugh, a pause, a name. And we communicate through silence with very expressive facial expressions. Ask me how I know. I'm having to consistently fix my face in communication. And so, because of this, I still comb through every transcript. Yes, it's time consuming. It can be much more time consuming than if I were just to allow AI to go through my transcripts, but excellence requires intention. And your audience deserves to hear you, not just automation. So let's talk about Riverside. As I said before, I want to be fully transparent. I don't work for Riverside.fm. And like I said before, I've used multiple platforms, but I switched after joining Alive, and the Riverside platform has been one of the best moves for my production. It has separate tracks, clean edits. It is browser based, so I'm not taking up a whole lot of storage on my computer, even though my computer can handle it. I just prefer it to be cloud based. And like I said earlier, Alive hosts get a killer $100 a year subscription deal. And so I think it's totally worth it. In my opinion, the AI editing power tools on Riverside are the best thing about it. These features can save hours of your time, and not just editing time, just time period. So here are some of my favorites that I use practically in every show. Number one is the magic audio feature. It cleans sound instantly. So I use this for every episode because I don't know about y'all, but I have an 8-year-old, and when I'm recording, I can tell him to be quiet, but he's jumping on stuff and flying through rooms, and so my magic audio button gets me right every time. The magic episode, magic clips, magic segment, and the hooks. The couple of those are new to Riverside. The hooks and the segments are new to Riverside, but I've been using the magic episode and magic clips since I started. These functions help you to take those moments out of your show and use those in your social media. And like I said, for the last few episodes, I have used the magic episode as a baseline to my edits. The intention of it is to give you a show that you can just download and put on whatever platform you want to. But I have actually just used it as a baseline to do my own editing. And still, in that, I think it does a pretty good job of editing. But, like I said, excellence requires intention. So I had to go do my own editing in that. I have not really got into this next feature that I'm talking about, but I just want you to know that it exists. It's a newer feature. It's called the AI B roll, and it lets you add AI created B roll to your videos, which I think is incredibly cool. And like, I haven't tried it to full form, but I've used AI for B rolls in Canva and stuff like that. So I just really need to figure out how to write the best prompts to get what I want out of the B rolls in Riverside. But I think that is cool that it's added, and I'm looking forward to the development of that tool. The brand tool, I use it in every episode. It saves me a lot of time. So I just go into Riverside and I set up with my logo and the intro and outros for all of my podcasts and wherever else I need, like graphics and things like that for every episode. And when I hit that brand button, it just puts it right on in there. So I'm grateful for the brand function. And then video dub. Okay, I know I can't see y'all, but has anybody used that yet? I've used it once and I didn't like it because it was how AI made my face look when it was trying to make me look like the word that it was saying. So video dub is like you go through your show and you said one word wrong or you want to add a word in there. So you could use video dub to go over the word that you didn't want, and then your face and your sound says the word that you want based on your voice. It's AI, but it's your voice, kind of like what Kyle used for Usher in one of the examples that he used. So, anyway, I didn't like it, but I'll try to use that as least as possible. And then lastly, show notes. I use that again for every episode because I have my own chat GPT trained to summarize my show how I want to. I take the show notes from Riverside and copy it to my chat GPT and then have her do her thing. Okay, P.S. My chat GPT, I know some of y'all name y'all chat GPT like chat GPT shit. I know that makes sense, but mine is named Mona. Mona means the only. So that's what we call her. So, okay, now for the one feature that I use most. Okay, Angel, hit the drum roll. Yes, come on. It is the AI filler removal tool. Okay, so the AI filler removal tool automatically detects and deletes the filler words, but be aware it's not always accurate. And sometimes it misses the words or the fillers or removes the wrong word or the wrong part of the word. And that for me has been a struggle because sometimes it will even take out those breaks. And in like a silence, my face has communicated exactly what I want to say. So this is where intention comes in. You need to know what your fillers look like in your audio waveform. The audio waveform is those small uneven spikes or short isolated sound bursts that don't connect to a complete word. And so once you're able to recognize them visually, you can decide when to remove them manually or with AI without sacrificing your natural flow. Okay, I'm going to test you on the next slide. These are the Yes, these are the dreaded fillers. Okay, I've identified three of my most used fillers that Riverside often will take out. And I had I had initially planned for us to be interactive, but we make it do what it do in this virtual space. So can anyone guess what the first one is? The number one filler that's the most dreaded. Okay, I'm gonna wait. Hit me in the chat. Wait, is there a chat? Okay, I'll just go ahead and tell you because it's is the first one. This is what my looks like. Sometimes it has a bigger waveform and sometimes it's smaller, but it starts with the and then it goes away like that. And then the second one, Angel, hit over one. The second, oh yeah, silence is the second one. Okay, yes, absolutely. Silence is the second one. And then the third one is, y'all probably wouldn't know because I say it a lot. It's and so, and so, and so, and so. I use that as a transition word a lot. I need to get that out of my vernacular, but that's what my and so looks like. So anyway, almost did it there. These are just three visual examples of common fillers you'll see when editing. Notice how short, sharp, and isolated the waveforms are and how they look compared to words with real weight and tone. Once you recognize these patterns, this will make your intentionality with your editing process way quicker. Just to give you a little bit more of my favorite tools, here they are. First up is keep only this. I use this from time to time when the magic clicks don't actually generate how I want them to. So in my experience, they have done a pretty good job of doing the whole thing, but I'll go into a clip and I'll say, oh, they cut it off here and I didn't like that. You can either highlight the text and right click and restore, or you can go through and highlight all the text that you want and then go to the three dots and then press keep only this. Now, the only downfall with the keep only this function is that when you use it and you've edited that space in between, so those fillers and words you didn't want, sometimes it brings them back. Actually, 99.2% of the time, it brings those parts of the editing back. So use at your own risk. Okay, the next one I use in every show, captions. Okay, raise of hands. Look, just raise your hand at your computer or your TV if you need captions because you can't hear. Oh, pick me. Okay, so I'm 41, and for a while now, I've not been able to hear unless the captions are on the TV. So outside of being accommodating to those who actually rely on captions for communications, it's for me and others like me too. Mm-hmm. And then the third tool that I love to use is the upload tool. I make all of my graphics and I use Canva to make my graphics, and I have made all of my audio with the exception of the first song that is in my show that was created by my partner, and then the last song of my show was created by my baby brother. Shout out to Jarvis and Raymond. Yeah, and then I use their music for every show. But if there's other music involved, I make my own music too. And so this upload tool is cool because I get to add those things into my show. Another function that I love, but it's like it's not a in love, like I'm not deeply in love with it, but I will use it sometimes. It's the eye contact tool. Because I have big eyes and I often look away sometimes, or I often look away, not sometimes, most of the time I look away. When I use this tool, it makes my eyes look bugged out, like the mask when I use it. And so, yeah, I use at your own risk. Just practice looking at the camera. That way you won't have to use the eye contact one. And then there is a function called lip sync. So if you find that your show is off, then you can go to the lip sync and it will shift your audio track forward or backward depending on what arrow you've hit. Now I've been able to use this once successfully, but the downfall of Riverside being a cloud-based program is sometimes there's lag depending on several factors. I've found when I've contacted chat support that Chrome is a factor in how your sound comes out whenever you complete your show, internet speed, of course, and then just how it recorded. So I've used the next editing tool that I love, chat support, to contact them and be like, hey, my show is not aligned with my visual. And for those of my friends just using audio, you're never going to need to use that. But if you want to add the video element, it's important that those line up. And so I'm shouting out chat support right now because if there's something not working, contact them. Contact them first. Don't just sit there and wait hours and hours to try to figure something out. They are very responsive. But it can take them a while if they're experiencing a large influx of people needing support. But I've been working on a podcast in the middle of the night, and I had, some issues. I just typed them and they came to my rescue. These are some of my favorite editing tools. But remember, again, AI is assistive, not authoritative. So you are the tool. You are the ultimate tool, and your creative ear still leads the mix. And your story is your story to tell. So to wrap up this workshop, let me leave you with my favorite reminder: trust your voice. In this space where I'm opening up my throat chakra and I'm using my voice as a healing tool. I knew my singing voice was, but I didn't know my speaking voice was. So now I am leaning into my speaking voice and allowing that to be one of the tools that I use to help heal others. And so after everything that I've talked about, editing, AI, and production, this is the part that matters most: trusting your voice. Focus on clarity, not flawlessness. Editing should help your message land clearly, not erase every breath or imperfection. Sometimes those moments of imperfection are where your authenticity lives. Authenticity will always be more powerful than perfection. In fact, authenticity is the highest frequency, even higher than love. Before you hit record or before you start slicing that track, ask yourself, what does my audience need to hear from me today? And when you approach editing from that mindset, you're not just cleaning up audio, you are creating resonance, forever resonance. Because remember, the internet lives forever. You're building connection and you're inviting your audience to trust their voice too. So before we close, I want to share a few ways of how we can keep growing together. If you're interested, I do not offer one-to-one podcasting coaching, but I can lead small group training. I'm a teacher. This is what I do. So if you need some, creators, or if you have creators that want to elevate their editing and production skills, whatever skill I have, I can lend out. You can just send me an email, whenmallorylives@gmail.com. And because sound and storytelling are both spiritual to me, I also offer astro soul coaching and astrocartography sessions. In fact, I am being the pillar of navigation. I am using my astrocartography in this upcoming window of year to travel around the world. So I'm really excited to not only offer that service for others to know what specific locations they can thrive in, whatever or what area they're interested in thriving in, whether it be love, career, or spirituality, but I'm doing it for myself. And so I'm excited about that. So thank you for being here today. Thank you for allowing me to share with you what I've learned so far. And yeah, alive at 25, baby. Here we are.
This was so good. Thank you so much for sharing. The last thing that you mentioned was, what is it called again? Astro what? Cartography?
Astrocartography. It's locational astrology. So using your natal birth chart to help you determine where your soul will thrive and where your soul won't thrive, where you can experience hardships. And it actually was started in like 1970. So it's a fairly new study. And there's several books out about it. The guy's name who created it is escaping me, or not created it, discovered it. Nothing's new under the sun. So he discovered that he could use astrocartography. He actually studied 25 famous people, wrote a book about their natal charts and how they traveled through the world and what they experienced and how that lined up with their astrology, because astrology tells us everything. So the more windows I open, the more I dive in, the more I'm like, yes. So November 29th, my son and I will be moving to Merida, Mexico. And I'm going to even do a podcast about that here in a couple of weeks. But in that space, he will thrive spiritually and I will thrive in career. Uh, yeah. So I'm excited to see how my career takes off in Merida, Mexico.
And that's why you're in where you are now, because that's one of your locations.
Well, I actually was just looking for somewhere warm. When I well, initially when I was going to go to Long Beach wasn't going to be any hotter than 74 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, okay, I can still dig it though, because I need some beach time anyway. I'll just wear a sweater. But when that canceled, I literally went to weather.com and was like, what's the most southern point in the United States where I can be the warmest? And so that's how it ended up in South Padre. But it just so happens that it aligns with a very powerful line in my astrocartography chart. So
That is so awesome. So I love how you blend and you're planning to tell the story of this new journey that you've discovered, because I think a lot of times, like, a lot of people get on a pathway where they're like, okay, I have this and I've been doing this. And so they are almost afraid to pivot or afraid to jump out and do something new. So I just want to applaud you for not only taking the time to like continue to learn, kind of like being that continuous learning, especially as a teacher, but being this continuous learner, but actually activating on what it is that you're learning and how it can better your life and your child's life. So that's super dope.
God told me I was a way shower. That is my purpose here. So through my life, I can help to enlighten others to maybe a spark in their life that they're not privy to, and inform them and just be the first person to take the torch through the cave. This is uncharted territory for me. I know I have Mexican ancestors, estoy chicana, but I don't have anybody who's in my family, in my paradigm. Ebony earlier talked about how people drop off. I've had that. I've had the, pain of losing people I thought were going to be right next to me because they didn't understand what I was doing. And when I say astrology, then, that gives people all types of things. Oh, you're, what are you doing? Especially the religious folk. I'm calling you out today because the religious folk will be the first to pin you to a cross. But it has actually accentuated my spirituality. And I feel more closely aligned with the divine in this space than I ever have in my whole entire life. Wow. Simply by just opening my mind up and opening to experience new things. And so I'm looking forward to service. And this is a part of my service, a part of my tax for getting to exist in this beautiful realm we call Earth, is to help others usher into their space, a life they can't believe they get to live every day. I posted about that today.
Well, and I think this is a beautiful kind of like summary of this early afternoon, the first half of today's Alive in 25 Summit, like, because I feel like Ebony really taught us about those 5 key elements, like acknowledging the pain, even though you didn't really speak on pain, but you did just mention how you had to let some things go. to
Mhm.
free yourself up and kind of reduce the weight. The second thing was finding your voice, and that leads into like what you're doing now. Like you are, learning new tactics, new training, and you're like sharing that voice. You're sharing your experience with others, and then you're looking for the blessing in the lesson. So you aren't just researching, you are taking that skill set and you are allowing it to be the light unto your feet, right? You are finding the lesson and you are moving across country to understand what could this potentially mean for not only my life but for my child's life.
Mhm.
And then you are willing to serve because you want to share that knowledge of your experience with others. And through that, all of those things that you're doing, you will continue to show up. You will continue to be your best self. So I love how we started with Ebony and those 5 pillars, and you are literally leading that example through everything that you shared with us this afternoon. So
Thank
thank
you.
you so much, Dr. Mal.
No, thank you. And thank you again, as Ebony said and the others said, just giving us a beautiful platform to be able to share those things, because now my audience is wider, the scope is larger. I know people that I didn't know before through podcasting. And so I'm just grateful for not only the ability to be able to share my story, but also the platform that you give to help myself and other creators to share that. So thank you for your gift.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I love that. All right. Well, it is lunchtime. I need everybody to get ready, go grab a meal. We're gonna go into the lunchtime mix. We have DJ Jeff Mercer, who is gonna bless us with some music, some tunes while we grab, and then we'll be back. And when we come back, we are gonna go right into the money. We ain't got our spiritual warfare built up. We ain't tapped into like all the things that we need to stay activated and to walk in our purpose. But then we got to talk about how do we turn that purpose into profits. And we're going to do that when we come back after our lunchtime break. Thank
Yes.
you, Dr. Mal.
You.